Alright, let's grab some coffee at the Petite Pierre Bakery. Thinks there's an object in the way when there's not. Alright, let's go. Get a perfect beeline right to the 73rd. That office chair has been there for like 3 weeks. Nobody is taking it for free. Seattle streets are no joke on your suspension. Between the rain, the tree roots, and the lack of maintenance, our streets are, and the freezing, so areas where it gets cold, frost heave is a problem, but also the lack of maintenance, because places like Kirkland, Bellevue, Redmond, their public works departments are far more on it than the city of Seattle. Pretty good handling of that turn. So very left turn and then immediately right. There's cars and it's busy and it's slowing down and waiting just in the right places, and it's doing it faster and faster with more confidence and less hesitations. I kind of want to see what happens when you get to an oncoming car. But this version 13 is just plowing through these Seattle streets like easy. Way better than version 12. For the record, I pushed it so that I would get closer to the bumper of that car so the cars behind me could maneuver. shall find a place down here. There's no parking. That was a loading zone. This is a bus area. Looks like we're hiking.
We're over in Seattle, and at the corner of Phinney Avenue North, Greenwood Avenue North, and North 67th, there's the Phinney Ridge Neighborhood Association. And what's cool about this area, besides the Red Mill Burger, great burgers for Seattle, is atop that tower is a Chrysler air raid siren. And I love these old cool things, but that's a leftover of the Cold War. There's not very many of these things left on display. Every once in a while it looks like someone's repainting this. It's a historical item, but that thing is freaking loud. And I wish I could hear one of these things actually operate, but they haven't tested this since the Cold War was over. I think they did it once a week or once a month since the 50s for a long time, but that's an original Cold War CD or civil defense system nuclear raid or air raid siren for the city of Seattle. There's a bunch of these. That's a V8 powered air raid siren made by Chrysler. Impressive little units. We're at the Petite Bakery here in Seattle, the Phinney Ridge neighborhood. Delicious treats in the cases. Everything always slaps, as they say, or it always hits the spot. This is what's left over. If you come here a little earlier, they got way better selection. Anyway, if you're in the Phinney Ridge neighborhood of Seattle, always check it out.
All right, we are back. So we just left the what we called a patisserie. So this is Petite Pierre over in Seattle on Phinney Ridge. And we'll start by saying, okay, we're gonna have to hit the gas to get her going. But yeah, great little bakery in Seattle, fresh bread. They make it right there. And unlike Starbucks, which has switched to those automated Swiss coffee machines, which I am not proud of. So it used to be back in the day, Starbucks had Le Morzocco machines and Ditting grinders. So these are some of the highest end grinders and coffee machines one can buy. And now, well, yes, they are still Swiss-made high-end automatic coffee machines. They're super automatic. The barista just hits a button and coffee comes out. Well, guess what? These machines are not perfect. And still, a human is better at making coffee on an old-school Italian espresso machine. And there are not many good, high-quality espresso machines on this that they're made. So Starbucks used to use the high-end Le Morzocco. Their headquarters for United States is right here in Ballard, actually. Fun fact. I myself, I have an ECM machine at home, and I love that. ECM is fantastic. You may know it as Rocket Espresso. They got rebranded on the residential line. They still make ECM machines. Rocket is still made in Milan, Italy. And the ECF brand name is made in the German factory that you would find today. So, okay, let's see how FSD handles this. Perfect! So anyway, yes, high-end espresso machines, Rocket, ECM, if you get the older ones, fantastic, Le Morzocco. There's a few good, really good quality Italian ones. If you're in the United States, you can get an Astra machine, which is made stateside, but I think predominantly they still use Italian sub-assemblies or components. It's just really difficult. You either got for the high-end pumps and things like that. Just in general, even in the industrial market, pump equipment and that tubing and the boilers and the tanks and the vessels, they just come from Italy. They have a stranglehold on that market. General pump, that's pressure washers, things like that. But I think there's just a region in Italy, and they're really good at making pumps, and they're really good at making espresso machines. But anyway, yes. I'm sure the Swiss and the Germans are really good at making espresso machines too, because ECM has a big factory in Germany, and they do make really good espresso machines. It's just when they are manual, you can get all the grounds out, and you can control that grind, and you can see it as the barista can see the grind and press it by hand. And when you have the machine doing it, you just don't have that consistency. And well, it's also maybe the way Starbucks roast their beans, but just in general, the smaller boutique coffee shops in Seattle, they do a much more phenomenal job of pouring a cup of coffee. And then I like the cortado. In this case, I had a breve. That's 2 shots and some half and half. I don't like the latte where you're drinking 12 to 16 ounces of milk with 2 or 3 shots or what have you of coffee. It's basically you're drinking milk at that point. Campanas are also a favorite of mine, and that is where you take espresso shots and you just pop some whipped cream on top. That's also a phenomenal option. Cuts down on the calories from the milk. But yes, I also like just straight espresso. And when you're drinking these espresso beverages that require less milk or whipped cream as part of the ingredient list, you have to, if the beans aren't good, it's not ground right, and the machine is not the best, you have to cut it with vanilla syrup, with milk, coffee, whatever it is. That's the problem with bad coffee. It now needs to be cut. If you have good espresso, good freaking beans, a good grinder, good espresso machine, you can basically take those 2 things, the pure shots coming out of the end of the machine, and just drink them straight. Or with minimal dash of milk. That's the way I like it. I like it either minimal. I also just drink straight cold brew a lot of the time. But I make that at home. That's pretty much it. How else am I going to fill the rest of this 27 minutes up of airtime in the car? So we were shooting the same road, but in the opposite direction the other day, and this is that when we're in the opposite direction, FSD doesn't know the timing of the parking. So this is the opposite direction where the orange Subaru on the other side. That far left lane is parking until 4 p.m. So they have to move their cars within the next 29 minutes, or get towed or ticketed. It really gums things up because sometimes the people recently didn't move these cars, and well, they just sat there. But usually the city is people are pretty good about it. They get them out of the way fast, or the city will tow you. Obviously, They're not instant in towing. So, but yeah, these lanes, obviously we wish there was 2 lanes in each direction, but there's not. But yes, FSD is not used to the fact that far left lane can be used as parking. And it's already 3:30 in this road. You can see on the other side, cars are trying to get around those parked cars because the traffic density is starting to go up. One can argue you should have probably timed. Now that Amazon is back to work, these roads are getting clogged fast as people leave work. So Amazon has gone back to work 5 days a week, and you can definitely tell that the roads are more congested with vehicles. Hey, I get it. You gotta get to work, right? And people say, well, you can take the bus. No, you can't. Let's be frank about that. In the city of Seattle, taking the bus is not the greatest experience. If you're going into the downtown corridor, there's people smoking fentanyl. There's people just doing stupid things. Your safety is in question. And I totally understand if you don't want to get on a bus in this town. In fact, that's why autonomy is important. It's the safest way to travel. Your own car. And it's cheap to drive. This car does not cost very much per mile to operate. We're talking like 5 cents. The electricity is nothing. 8 cents a kilowatt hour compared to gasoline. It's clean. What's not to like? I think autonomy will take out the public transportation. So start building the roads. And then we can use the roads we have far more efficiently with autonomous systems. Because as you connect everything, the cars can better communicate with the signaling systems we have. But that's going to take 20 years. But we'll solve autonomy and we'll make it happen. We are in standard mode. This is version 13.3 or version 13.2.2. We're running hardware 4, AI 4. This is a Model Y 2024. Purchased in April, probably manufactured sometime in that same time frame. I need to look on the door stamp of this. And we do not have the upgraded 4.1 dubbed computer that's having issues. And then what is super cool is the new Juniper. They're just leaked in China, or now it's officially on the Tesla webpage in China. Super cool design. The front end, it's kind of like not the Transformer, Iron Man look to it. I guess Elon Musk is truly Tony Stark. They did shoot the movie in the SpaceX factory. But anyway, you got the front end light bar. It is different than the Model 3, which was surprising. I thought it was just going to be, the refresh would be very similar to what they did on the 3. Anyway, super cool front end. In the picture, in the Chinese car, there is a front camera, which I'm super excited about, because I think that's going to solve a lot of issues. Personally, if I were on the DDAS team and I could add extra cameras to the car, I would stick one either in the front. Well, that's a good location. The problem is processing, or somehow enable the vehicle to turn off the unneeded cameras so it doesn't have to process through. But definitely put one on each side, further down, pointed that way, so that we're at an intersection. The car can look right and left. Because I, as a human, I can articulate my head, but if you're a car, you can stick the camera further down the line and look at those hard areas. Then I would also stick a pillar camera up high, pointed outwards, and that is for pulling out of street parking. Wow, okay. FSD started again going off the line before the light turned green, but it did not run the red light because it started moving just a split second before it turned green. And it is timing them, and it's getting better. So that's the efficiency of the car. If you know the green is coming, and all the cars started moving in anticipation of the flow of traffic and setting up for those turns, you shave off these seconds and you can increase the efficiency of an existing motorway. And if all the vehicles are starting to talk to each other, you can platoon series of vehicles together, or have them talk to each other, tighten the distance so you save the fuel mileage, and you have safety in numbers. So let's say you're going to California, a series of cars can basically get together and platoon at a similar mileage, and therefore if you see a danger close, the lead vehicle will take the hit, and it's just like a school of fish or a flock of geese or birds. They have safety in numbers. So when you're a lone car at night, it's not really that safe, but if you have 5 cars and you're in a row, oh, you're much safer. And as we get, I think it's going to be 13.4, or you get the fleet-wide kind of basically a Tesla Waze integration coming, which is going to be super cool, I think. Oh man, the sun is killing me over here. Alright, we'll put on some sunglasses. Blinding me is blinding FSD, but we don't ever see a front camera view unless we dig up the dash cam footage, which let's see. Oh, good job, FSD. If you're gonna trade places with that guy, that would be genius. We're gonna end up in front of the plumbing truck. I used to remember what this car was. A Mitsubishi Evo? No. Sunglasses. We're jumping on to the freeway. So we're going on 520 eastbound towards Bellevue. And we're gonna have a lot of traffic and cars moving in and out until the Montlake exit. See how FSD handles people that are gonna jump in front of her. Really cool, hopefully, when they finish this, because this is the real bottleneck now of the 520 bridge. It'll handle a lot more cars, and this is the last section of the old 1950s design. Alright, so on the way here, we did not try and get in the carpool lane. FSD did really well and stayed to the right for most of the trip and not have to manually try and get it over. And so far so good on the trip home today. So FSD version 13 is finally coming together. We were listening to the Elon being interviewed. He said we should be crossing the human, where FSD is safer than a human by Q2 of 25, so 6 months. That'll be super cool. Right now, well, on its own, I think the combination of the driver and FSD is overall the safest, because there's been situations that I wish I could catch it on film that a vehicle tried to change lanes into the rear, and that would have basically pit maneuvered me, and FSD just shot out of the way into the shoulder or came up with a cool little escape. Super awesome. Let's see, I think we missed the speed sign earlier. It should be at 60. Oh, here we go. That was a delay. Those ones were off. So there might be speed markers inside. But in either case, it didn't pay attention to them. It's going with the flow of traffic and what's prudent. It doesn't care. That's the way you're supposed to drive. Driver behind me is starting to scoot in sub 1 second. He's probably annoyed that FSD has left about 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. There's 4.5 seconds of separation between me and the Audi in front, which means that white car is correct. That would be about 2 seconds of separation. Whoop-de-doo, it's not like anybody can go anywhere in this situation. And there's no reason to sardine in really tight formation like up ahead, and the pavement is still drying. It's wet from a little drizzle earlier in the day. Right now we're going in, so we're 1,000, 2,000, 2.2 seconds behind the Audi. So what does your driver's ed book say? Always maintain about 2 to 3 seconds between you and the car in front of you. When there's no reason to, like, look at the Audi in front of us. That guy is half a second behind that Ford, or that, actually that's a Chevy. But what, those cars that are packed up in front, you can, now, obviously nobody wants to stop on the freeway, but God forbid someone has a flat tire or something, and I've seen that before, where you have a flat tire, someone loses control, and that little bunch, if you're all tight together doing 65, 70 like that, you're not going to be able to get out of it. Of course, the guy in the Chevy got frustrated and he kind of got in front of the van guy. Alright, FSD wants to get over to take 405. Which we normally don't take. We take 124th or North of Way exit, but let's just let it play out. Obviously the maps thing. It is 3:45, so it might actually be a faster way of getting there. Okay, never mind. FSD has decided to change its direction. Interesting. So this is the second time it's happened where it thinks it wants to take forward the freeway and then recalculates to 124th, when usually from the get-go it wants to take 124th. So now it's repopulating. Okay, now I got to get back over because we're going to be at this for 1.1 miles, and then this lane becomes the carpool lane. And I don't know who in the state of Washington government that handles this, but let's look ahead. This is so these two lanes are freeway exits. which is fine. But then, okay, why are we going into, okay, a new problem? So while this is still the freeway, suddenly this becomes the carpool lane. So technically we are in the carpool lane or diamond lane for a quarter mile. And then, eighth of a mile, and then it opens back up to a collector distributor. Like, why wouldn't you just leave that as the option to use? Because it'd be more convenient, but I guess also people are coming in. That little eighth of a mile, you're not cheating anything. It's just really, in my opinion, it's just, and then it would actually allow cars like this to set up for this exit much easier than that literally 800 feet of carpool lane that's completely unnecessary. And then it goes up ahead and then becomes the carpool lane again after the exit. Like, why? You have some extra paint in the truck? That's pretty cool. So the Porsche behind us actually has the original German number plate on it, and then the state of Washington number plate on top of the European style. So I don't know if it's fake or real, but sometimes that usually I've seen, we have clients that they've done that. They actually went and picked up their car. Usually it was a Volvo. They'd fly to Sweden, pick up their car, take the tour, do the paperwork, and then they don't have to pay the import duties on the car. And I'm wondering if it's probably the same with the German cars, or really anything, but just like when you when you import the car yourself into the United States, you don't pay the import duties, or far less, because it's a personal, you're coming with the car. If you take delivery of it, you don't pay the duty. Which, if it's 10% on a, let's say, $80,000 car, hey, that's a decent amount of savings. It pays for the plane tickets, and it basically pays for the vacation to go over there and get the car. Small world. I've been behind this guy before. Here's a vanity plate of Raja from Alaska. Vanity plate. And I don't remember, I've read this before. Well, I guess it makes sense. It was in the same place. I'm just going to assume they live close by. All right, we have made it. And we didn't get a park on completion, but that is okay. Great drive, great weather, great food. Happy Friday.